Alrighty, so we're going to go into Photoshop, but if you were on a Chromebook, you would use Photopea. So the first thing you're going to do is you open the file in Photopea or Photoshop, and then you go here, and there's a little lock, and you just unlock it. Okay. Then you do image adjustments. Sorry, I apologize. Image rotation. Okay. And so in this case, it's 90 degrees counterclockwise. Each piece is going to be different. Okay. The next thing you do is you're going to use the rectangular marquee tool. You can use the crop tool, but I actually find the rectangular marquee tool is easier to use. Okay. And you literally just click in the corner and you go to the opposite side. Okay.
For this one, we had like a grid on it, so do you think we could like cut it like shorter, like from here?
You can definitely do that, but right now I'm just doing a rough crop, okay?
Gotcha.
And then I'm going to show you. I do image crop, okay? Now I'm going to just use the magnifying glass to make it a little bigger. And now this is a process picture, right? You finished it at some point, right?
Yeah.
And when you finished it, you probably erased the grid. So being that it's a process picture and the grid was part of your process, do you really want to hide the grid? Like, you may not.
Can we just like take like this, like the numbers away from it?
But why? I mean, it was part of your process. Is there anything wrong with gridding? Especially when this is a very creative piece. You're doing all these creative, interesting things. I'm not going to right now. You can do that later if you feel it's necessary. My main thing is this, okay? So there's a way to fix that. What you do is you do, let's just do select, deselect, but you have to be clicked into this layer, okay? Now, my suggestion is that you always duplicate the layer, okay? So you go here on the layer, right click, and then you duplicate layer, okay? And the reason why you do that is because if you mess up, you have the original underneath, okay? Now, I'm gonna then do edit, transform, and I'm gonna do distort, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm pulling this here. Okay, I don't want to pull it too much, but it's a little crooked. Okay, now if I pull it too much, the issue is that it's going to look distorted. So let me just show you. If I put the check mark, it'll take the distortion, but if I just go like that, it'll go back to how it was, okay? So let's do this again, and let's make sure that we don't screw it up. So it's edit, transform, distort, and I'm going to pull this until it's straightish, but not totally perfect. Is that good? Okay, and then I'm going to pull down here, okay? Now, presumably you have a later version of this that's finished and refined and maybe even matted, correct? So my feeling is it doesn't have to be too perfect now because it's just a process photo. However, this thing up here is going to bother me too. So edit, transform, distort, and I'm going to pull this up again to make it nice and even. I think that's good. Now, does it look right? It doesn't look distorted, does it? Looks okay?
No, looks
okay. Good.
I think we could pull it a little from here.
Well, here's what we're going to do. Instead of distorting this, which I think is unnecessary, we're going to take the lasso tool and we're going to lasso this. Okay, and now when you select something in Photoshop, if you go to select something else, it'll deselect the first thing you selected unless you hold down the Shift key. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select this, this, this. I'm just selecting the damaged parts of the paper. And if I do it carefully, okay, and now I have to get that little corner as well. I'm trying to be minimalistic about it and just get the damaged parts of the paper. And then up here a little bit. Now, if I ever forget to hold the Shift key, I'll lose that whole selection. I have to do it again, but I think I'm okay. Now, I got all these areas selected. So now what I'm gonna do is, and you may not be able to do this in Photopea. This might be something you can only do in Photoshop.
Oh.
Edit, fill, and one of the choices is content aware. Now what content aware is it analyzes what's around it and fills it in with more of the same. So if you had a photo on the beach of you and your boyfriend walking, and there was a girl in a bikini jogging by, and you wanted to get rid of her because she doesn't belong there, you would put the lasso around her and you do edit, fill, content aware, and it would just fill her in with more ocean. Okay, so I'm going to try that here, and hopefully it'll fill it in with more of the same color. Okay, it's not perfect, but let me do select, deselect, and it's better. Okay, I don't feel like I should get rid of that wrinkle at all because, again, this is a process photo. But this here, I'm not thrilled with. So what I can do is I can just go here with the lasso. And now I can do edit, fill, content aware, and it should work. Okay, Ash, let's see. Edit, fill, content aware. Okay, it's not working that well. So Command Z means undo. Okay, so there is another way to do it. I go here. This is the foreground color. I click on the foreground color and I pick up this color. I hit OK, and now I can do edit, fill, foreground color. It may work, it may not. It may look terrible. We'll see. If it does look terrible, we're going to go back to the way it was because I think it's better to have a slightly ripped picture with an edge. It's a real genuine process photo. You don't necessarily need your process photos to look too perfect. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see. Select, deselect. It actually looks fine. So you see how I just did that, and now I think it looks good enough. For a process photo, I think it's fine. So now let's talk about the exposure, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Down here, it says create new fill or adjustment layer. I'm going to click here, and I want to do an adjustment layer where I help the exposure. So I go to exposure, and I'm just going to make it slightly lighter. Okay, doesn't that look better? Yeah. Now you see the texture of your pastels, and now it really looks like your picture. Okay, now my instinct is that we don't want to adjust it too much. It shouldn't look too finished, too perfect, too polished, because it should be an accurate, honest representation of your artwork. Okay, so I'm going to do File, Save As, and does this piece have a title? Is it a self-portrait? Is it what is it?
Can I do like main figure just to say like, because you know how like Cinco de Mayo is like.
How do you spell Cinco?
C-O.
Okay.
D-M-A-Y-O? Yeah.
Okay. Process photo Cinco de Mayo. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to export. Well, I have to resize it. Okay, so now image size. If you tried to upload that to the AP website, it wouldn't take it because it's too big, okay? But if you shrank it, you'd lose all your detail. So what do? You go down here to the resolution and you change the resolution to 300, and then you take the longest side, which here it's the height, and you change that to 7 inches, and you just kind of look. Okay, 5.4. Okay, so it's a little bigger than 5x7. Let's go up here and change the shorter side to 5. Because these are linked together, it'll be slightly smaller than 5x7. It's likely still going to be too big. You're probably going to have to resize it, but not that much, and Mitchell can help you do this. So it's 8.32 megabytes. It was 15.9 megabytes. So it's a lot smaller. It may not be smaller enough. It may not be small enough for the AP website, but at least I know you haven't lost any detail because you changed that resolution to 300, okay? Don't resize it and then change the resolution because you won't get back any of that detail. You have to make sure that when you're resizing it, you also change the resolution. Otherwise, when you enlarge it, it'll pixelate, and you don't want that. Okay, you got me? So I'm going to hit OK. And now you know how to do all this. And now we have to export it. So file, export. We could export it as a JPEG or a PNG. Does it matter to the AP website? Okay, then we'll do a JPEG. Okay, hang on. So let's change it to JPEG, and see that quality? Let's push it all the way to the highest quality. Okay, and now we're gonna export it. Process photo, and it's gonna go to the desktop. Okay, all right. Now the next one we can do real quick. It's gonna be
That
great.
one's a final piece.
This is the final piece. Okay, so first off, let's go here to layers. Okay, I'm going to unlock the background. I'm going to do image adjustments. Sorry, my bad. Image rotation, 90 degrees counterclockwise. I'm going to. Okay, so what you're saying is you don't want this outside area at all. Okay. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to crop this now, and then I'm going to crop it again. Now I'm going to make it bigger. Okay, so now I'll crop it again. Before I crop it, it's a little crooked. So why don't we do this? Image, edit, transform, rotate. I'm giving you a week for it. All three of those are very different. The argument you kind of have to make up just within yourself, and that's very different planning and preparation than when you're trying to look into the head of a rhetorical analysis, trying to figure out what is this author trying to communicate. Okay, so I'm just kind of making sure this thing is horizontal, and it's really hard, so I'm going to give you a trick. I'm going to click on this so I don't accept the adjustment. If you go to view, show, and then view and then rulers, and you check on rulers, okay, then the rulers will be visible. They're not automatically visible. So I have mine visible. So you just do view and then rulers. Okay, now I've got a ruler here. So I'm going to use it. Oop, just grab it and drag it down. Now I know how to rotate this. See what I'm saying? So now edit, transform, rotate. And you don't have, I mean, this is like a crazy amount of perfectionism, but it's good to know how to do it anyway. You don't have to get that crazy. You could probably just crop it and lose a little of this and nobody would be any the wiser. Okay, so now check that. Okay, now I'm going to do another crop.
All right, figure out what the question is asking me first, like the first 5 minutes. What do they want out of me? And then skim, like next 5 minutes, skim.
Image crop, and then, okay. Now I just have one corner I have to deal with, right? So edit, transform, distort. Let me pull it this way a little. Boop. Now, does it look distorted or is it okay?
No, I think it is.
Okay, so then hit the check mark, and then let's see what happens when I crop it a little more. I mean, I think it's fine, right? I don't want to go messing with it because I don't want to distort your image. So I'm going to do image crop, and then really the only thing left is the exposure. So do you remember how to do that? You go down here, you go to exposure, and you just make the exposure slightly higher, just slightly, so you can see your mark making. Okay, I assume you're doing a drawing portfolio because that's all about intentional mark making. Before we couldn't see your intentional mark making, now we can. Okay.
And what's the offset and the correction?
I wouldn't overcorrect your piece. Okay. I really wouldn't, because what you want is to be true to your actual artwork. If it looks photoshopped, they're going to take off points or they'll think that your work is sus. You don't want that. All right, so it's really a bad idea when you're submitting to AP to make things look too photoshopped, unless Photoshop is your media, which it's not. you know, pastel's your media, so let's go with that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do file, save as.
So what does that do? Like correct it a little more?
You know, you can mess with it for 20 zillion years, or you could get an accurate photo of what your artwork looks like. Let's get an accurate photo of what your artwork looks like. The issue was it was slightly underexposed, and by correcting the exposure, now we can see your artwork. That's all we want, is to see your artwork. It's a vehicle, because a few years ago everybody had to mail their artwork in, and now they don't. So this is in lieu of that. But everyone wants their artwork to look better than it is, and nobody has this understanding that it's part of a learning process, and that your artwork is what it is at this developmental stage in your life, and that's what they should be evaluating. So, like yes, you're good enough, you're smart enough, you're talented enough. Just finish it, send it in, and see what they say. Let them decide. Okay, so lips. I'm just gonna call it lips. I'm gonna hit save. I'm gonna hit OK, and now we're gonna do image size. Let's change this to 300. And now look at that. Look how huge that was. Okay, so now let's change the longest size to 7. Nope. Okay, let's change this one to 7. Okay, see, slightly smaller than 5. Now it's probably still too big, but Mitchell can show you how to resize it. I hit OK. I'm going to hit save again. And then I'm going to do file, export as. We'll go with JPEG. We'll push this all the way to the highest, and then we'll hit export. And then we'll save it. Okay, so now we're going to go, we're going to stop the recording.